All right. Performative proof number two. Not really sure if I'm just speaking out into the void here. Sure, there's a few people out there who might be interested in this stuff. Braden, meet Misha. Misha, meet Braden. Hopefully, I'm saying your name right, Misha. Apologize if I'm not. You guys are one of the very few commenters who commented on the With article. Very much appreciate the engagement. Misha, we've been going back and forth a little bit prior to that. Braden, your first comment was on the With article. We have the Protestant Reformationist former interrogator, Braden, in one corner, and we have Misha, the Russian Orthodox Christian, in the other corner. I'm not sure what you do, Misha, but based on your profile picture, you look like you would beat me in an arm wrestling match over and over again. That's the impression I have of you. All right. You guys commented. Something drove you to do that. Not many people did. Something was there. There's something about what I said that's different. There is a salience connection there. I know you guys felt it. Here's the thing. This is about structure versus interpretation. That's what you guys sensed. You both have two completely different theologies and are operating on the exact same foundational ontological structure. It's absolutely no different. It's just apple juice or orange juice at the bridge level. And I don't say that to be offensive. I'm not attacking anything here. Nothing right or wrong about any which way you guys went about this. But I think we can illustrate the point I'm making here and the cognitive dissonance that this claim causes by going into a little bit about Braden's backstory. The interrogator, right? No civilian work. You were never in the room with the thing itself, Braden. That was not your role. That was not your job. You're in the room with the guy. He's speaking at you. It's like there's a glass wall there. It goes through some interpretive framework so that you can detect threats, find certain patterns. If you didn't have that training, that sort of filtering quality to your thinking, it's not safe. Deletes the whole purpose of your job. And like any good soldier, you're aware that that comes with blind spots. Where does the blind spot come from? Error in cognition. Why? Because it's an interpretive framework. Not that there might be blind spots, there are blind spots. You're supposed to scan, not something you could ever construct your way into knowing. The nature of a blind spot is you can't do that. It would be revealed to you. And then you just integrate it into your framework, keep it pushing, all gravy. That's what's happening here. And I think you sense that. Because the real interesting part about your comment, Braden goes, it sounds like you're denying the personal creator, collapsing everything into an impersonal, all is relational field of with. Right. What's really interesting is there's a few people in my life who I've presented this to, thinking they had the courage to face something without judgment. And they interpret it as kind of sounds like you're proclaiming some sort of messiah complex. Are you okay? Do you need to go to a mental hospital? So, how could two separate human beings read the exact same article and one person interpret it as I'm completely denying the personal creator, collapsing it into this impersonal witness, and then another person thinking I'm saying I'm Jesus? And then we go over to Misha, and how'd you interpret my claim? Is you saw it as skipping over spiritual warfare, this direct mythic, I'm sorry, mystic type relationship with the creator, directly opposing Braden's interpretation. So what's happening here? How could this claim, which is the simplest logic there's ever been presented, be interpreted in such wildly different ways? I wonder if it's because the interpretive frameworks are all the same, just different qualities. I think so. I think so. So try to hear this next part without interpreting it, if that's possible. Is that as these words hit you, they hit you, then you interpret them. Just think about your prior life, Braden. When you're interrogating someone, he's just saying words. They're just sounds, the same way I am now. That arrives first, hits your eardrums. Your eyesight is picking up on his facial expressions, what he does with his eyes. Just imagine what that situation would be like prior to your training. It's just hitting you raw. And you can now hopefully understand that when you suddenly have that training impacted upon you, that there's now two layers. That's what I meant about the glass in between you guys, right? Is that it's not just hitting you directly, it's hitting you, and then you interpret it through a very specific lens, and then you actually think that's first. You think that's the contact point, is your interpretation, but it's not. The same way with this, is all you guys were hit with it. Words on a screen, shapes emitting off the screen, hitting your eyesight, your retinas. That happens first. And then each of you, the people who think I'm delusional, the person who thinks I'm skipping spiritual warfare in direct mystical connection with the creator, the person who thinks I'm denying the personal creator, all of those were second order after the raw contact. Now, this isn't perfect what I'm doing here in terms of presenting it. The logic of the claim is perfect, but I'm not out here trying to convince people. I'm not out here trying to teach people. I'm not an apologetic. I'm not a philosopher. I'm actually just chilling, to be honest with you. There's just no other way to present the claim other than how I have. I made the mistake, though, of saying my claim. My claim. As soon as I say my claim, that arrives, that hits you, that's raw contact, as if I'm a subject, which I am, of course. I'm not saying I'm not. This might get a little confusing. Um, as soon as I say my claim, it's like I'm a subject who's analyzing experience, the world out there. And okay, now let me create a thesis here. Let me create a claim. Let me create an argument, some bridge to get from my mind in here out into experience to analyze it and, formalize some structure. Okay, it's all relational. This denial collapse method, boom, present it to the world. What do you guys think? It's a model for reality. Check it out. That's not what happened. Just because I said my claim, I mean, it was a grammatical error. It's not my claim. It can't be my claim. It's the claim. You think I'm not allowed to do that, maybe, but let's break it down. Braden, you could stop this right now, go read my article again, and simply switch the premise that that article is proving the personal creator and nothing else, and you would find that to be immediately true. So isn't that interesting? Because what the claim is it's a denial and collapse performative proof method, not to prove the claim, to reveal it in live action, such as we're doing now, that these are the conditions which are presupposed and automatically enacted, containing this experience right now, the actual contact that you guys are experiencing right now. See, when you operate in this interpretive framework that both of you do, you start remote viewing your experience. It's as if you're on the couch watching the TV. Braden, you're on the Protestant Reformationist channel. Misha, you're on the Orthodox Christian channel. But the contact's coming through that TV and then filtering through your channel. That's first, the contact. That's the claim. Contact first, relation first. It just is. It's not assumed. This is happening right now. You guys are being contacted. They're just sounds. They hit your eardrums. That's actually the order, the logical order of reality. Is it's first. Then you interpret it, you switch the order and think that's first. That's what I'm pointing out here. So don't even worry about my claim. Let's look at what happened with you guys when you read this post. Is you were hit with the raw contact, thought it was a claim, thought it was a thesis. That meant you have to interpret it through your framework. That was second. And then you consider that the actual contact that I'm discussing here, right? Braden, what's your framework? Let's look at it. Protestant Reformationist. God is up there, the transcendental. We're down here. Creator versus created. The metaphysical split. The bridge between your doctrine. That's how it goes. You're a subject analyzing your experience. God is up there. He's the object to be protected. You build a wall around him. It's definitional. It's apologetic. I'm not saying it's wrong. I read your stuff. It's good. I like it. Accurate. All I'm talking about here is structure. You guys work top down from interpretive frameworks. I work bottom up, the way reality actually unfolds. Because this is what happened for you, Braden, is as soon as you read my claim and then you saw the context of it, scanning for clues, that it's talking about reality, it's talking about God, you enter your interpretive framework and you had two options for how you perceive my claim, interpreted it. Literally two. It's not as if you went through a palette of options, 10, 15 different choices, settled on your framework, and made your response from there. You reacted based on something that was handed to you, which is the interpretive framework. These are the only two options you had when you read my claim. It's either defining God accurately per your doctrine, or it's not. If it's defining it accurately, gets a pass. If it's not, it's a threat. Shoot it down. That's what you did. Those were the only options you had. And that came second. That's the blind spot. What about you, Misha? As soon as you heard my claim, this guy has a thesis. He's talking about reality, talking about God here. He's trying to prove something. Let me scan it through my interpretive framework. What's your interpretive framework? It's the exact same thing as Braden's, just different language. Essence versus energies. Exact same thing. You're the subject analyzing your experience. God is this transcendental, perfect, to be protected. That's the essence. You can't touch it. The only difference, and you think you maybe are differing from Braden here, is the bridge, is your theology. And the bridge is that, oh, yeah, you can experience God and he can experience you just through the energies, not the essence. And the only way you could possibly know how to do this is through your bridge, which is theosis, this straight line, spiritual type conquest into mystically experiencing God while he's experiencing you, but through energies, through the split. And the only way you can know that is through your specific framework. Not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying when you read my claim, think about it. Braden's doing the exact same thing you're doing. He's scanning it. Only two options. Is this um, defining God correctly, the object of God correctly, as I'm remote viewing this? Let me see. What are you doing? Okay, he said my claim. That's what this guy said. He's trying to show he can undercut all this. Well, that doesn't fly in my framework. You're viewing it in the exact same way. Is this guy talking about a mystical communion with God in an accurate way per my framework or an inaccurate way? Exact same thing. It's inaccurate. And then you went into a spiel about your beliefs per your framework, which just completely support everything that I'm saying here. Both of you are the subject. Both of you have a bridge. Both of you have an object. It's the exact same ontological structure, showing that when you operate in this way, identify in this way, that you feel raw contact, that's actually flipping that upside down, which is what this claim does, causes curiosity, maybe destabilization. Either way, you buckle down into self protection. You barely even are conscious of it. Enter your interpretive framework so you can be at a safe distance. Now, it doesn't matter our theology here, boys. Let's just go back to the law of Moses, that safe distance they wanted, right? They really needed that law. They begged for it. They try to tell him, you don't need a king. Stop asking for kings. Just stop. Nah, they wanted that safe distance. They needed that safe distance. Well, there's no way to interpret this, guys. Both of your theologies, including mine, is based on Jesus Christ. That's the ground. The man who died on a cross to show you there's no bridge to cross, who showed you this is not remote viewing. That's not what this is. So I wonder if you guys can feel it yet and how strange and uncanny this really is. Is that it's not my claim, it's the claim, but really, it's not even a claim. I'm talking about raw contact hitting you first. That's pretty much it. It just is. You don't assume that. That's how every moment of your reality unfolds. Let's just break it down a little more to make this clear. What happens first? The cry or the pain? Braden, I see that you have children. Misha, I'm not sure about you, but Braden, just imagine the first time you heard your baby cry or any time. Does that cry happen after or before the sensation of discomfort or pain that your baby experienced? Obviously, after. All I'm doing is in real time unfolding how reality works based on the presuppositions, the preconceptual conditions that are enacted in every single human experience, meaning it's underneath containing every perception, thought, theory, argument, doctrine, framework. Those only come about because these conditions are always happening. They're not a chronological timestamp, it's happening all at once. It's happening right now. There's a distinction at address. That's always presupposed. You've never once had a single experience where you're not being addressed or you're not addressing somebody. Right now, in this proof, I'm addressing both of you. It's from me to you in one experience. It doesn't even start until you guys start pressing play and the contact emerges, hits you. That's first, contact by relation. For either of you to deny this claim, you'd have to address me via contact and relation based on the last contact and relation. That's how every moment unfolds. Braden, let's say you're daydreaming about something, thinking about some theology, thinking about some aspect of your doctrine, right? You're remote viewing it, you're in your interpretive framework. This is not some linear reality. Reality demands recognition of itself. All of a sudden, your baby cries. Now, the distinction at address for your baby, your kid, was whatever's causing them discomfort, that object. They're the subject. Something happens in between. The sensation of discomfort happens first. That hits them, the mirror flips within themselves. The cry emerges on its own prior to any interpretation. Of course, it's a baby. Your child is a baby or a kid. They're not thinking through anything. There's no interpretation occurring. They get hit with a sensation, it undercuts interpretation, and emits the mark of cry. Therefore, they don't experience it out in the world. They only know what that thing is, recognize what that thing is, and then emit the mark for it within themselves due to the relational contact. So I'm not saying reality doesn't exist. I'm saying we never experience it directly. And that's just not something you have to assume to be true because you can never deny that within your own experience. Of course, you know you're having experience, which is prior to interpretation, always first. It undercuts it. The mark of the cry arrives on its own due to the relational contact of the distinction at address, which is two and one, paradox. One experience, but two. You can try it out. You will not be able to describe an object without using this, that, or it. You can't describe a person without using a pronoun. Even when you're reflecting on this on your own, you're by yourself. Maybe you think you can get away with it then. No, you split yourself into two, some future or past projected version of yourself You're literally asking yourself questions and then just placing some stick version of yourself in the future so that you can create the relational field and have the meaning arrive in between. That's where it always arrives on its own. No self authorship. Contact is first. That's why it's not my claim, because there is no self authorship. It's just reality demanding recognition of itself through us. Therefore, this is not some messiah claim. This is not some religious claim. Religion happens because all of these things are being enacted at the very start of it. And that's the claim, because it swaps the whole historical order of how we think human cognition even works. And it just so happens that the Gospels and Jesus Christ is the ontological source map. The only mathematical conclusion to the claim is him, because everything else collapses in light of it. Think about it. Distinction at address, every single experience you've ever woken up in happens there. And it's happening because you're being contacted relationally. Braden, you could just be off doing whatever, and then the cry interrupts your experience. You don't have a choice. You're not the one who brings meaning to that cry. You can just try to remember the experience, where as soon as you hear it, before the word, the mark even arrives within you, before the recognition actually even happens, there is a gap. That's the narrow door where you are already running off to go take care of your child. You just know what to do. You just know. You're recognizing it. And then as your child gets older, you might teach them, right? All you're doing is transferring over things that you've recognized before to them. And then they're going to teach their kids in the exact same way. So it can't be social contracting. It can't be social conditioning. It's contact first, not the mind first. That comes thousands of years later. Just trace it all the way back. What came first, the lightning strike or the word lightning? It would have to be the lightning strike. Have to be. You can't come up with a word or even experience something if you don't yet have it. You couldn't recognize the thing. This is marked all over our creation. You can think of a cat hissing. A cat obviously does not have an interpretive framework. All of us know what hissing means. The intelligibility of it arrives only due to relational contact. The cat's being impacted by something, confronted by something. Their nervous system literally can't contain the energy. It emits a specific distinguishing mark that has the intelligibility baked into it, in it of itself. Once again, you're walking down the street, you hear a cat hissing. You don't have a choice. Your body is forced to recognize that mark. You're going to respond to it. It creates a binary. If we're walking down the street and I say, stop, stop right now, you could either stop or not, but you're forced with that binary and you're forced to recognize it. And the recognition arrives within you on its own. You only know what it is because of the word. This experience happens within time and it's changing. I'm saying this now. You guys are going to listen to it later. From your perspective, you're listening to it now, but I've said it before. Now and then, before, after, both happening now. Paradox. There's change. You didn't know this before, you know it now. Even as the words pass you by, they're changing. But it's still one timeless, changeless, perfect moment. It's just changing within our lived experience, time's unfolding within our lived experience, the paradox, so that we can have experience. Obviously. You're transcendental, you're perfect, you're changeless, timeless God. That essence, Misha, is protected. It's just a paradox. You can't split it up. It's both. That's the whole point of Jesus. That's the cross. The word became flesh. That's the whole point. To deny change, to deny this is within time, you'll have to say that to me within time, and you're trying to change my opinion. Again, this doesn't prove the claim. It performs it to show you that this is the ground you're standing on, that there is no way to experience life unless it's in time, changing, based on a distinction at address due to relational contact, with the meaning and intelligibility arriving in between on its own through you. That's what's happening right now. That's the ground. All of it is completely unassumed, completely. And there's never been a claim in the philosophical tradition that has ever posited a claim that is completely unassumed the entire time. This is what I did. Of course, I'm a subject looking out at my experience, analyzing it the same way you guys are, and there's objects out there. And then suddenly what I realized is I've never actually believed in that and have been trying to tell people that thoughts just arrive, that it's clearly down up, just didn't have the language for it. And it's this simple: creator versus created, energy versus essence, subject versus object, mind versus matter. However, you want to split up the splits, what you're doing right off the bat, Braden specifically, is you're cutting out contact and relation, putting it secondary because you need to put your mind prior in the actual ontological order and say these things don't touch, but they don't arrive in existence unless they're already touching. You literally can't have a subject unless it's observing an object, and you can't have an object unless it's being observed by that exact same subject at the exact same time. It's distinction within unity, a paradox. All of human cognition for 2,500 years saw the paradox as a contradiction, collapsed it into one side, that this reasoning intelligibility, this interior flashlight, that must be ours. Saw ourselves in the mirror, took the reflection, which is just recognition for our own, as if we're the givers and receivers of life, started remote viewing it like we're on the couch watching the TV. That this split is real. This distinction is a hard line. Misha, you tried to say that you don't believe it's a bright line distinction, but within saying that, you're making it one. You're on the couch watching the TV. Your whole entire statement was a distinction, was remote viewing. You were in contact with the thing itself, didn't realize it. See, it's a trap. It's a deception. You can't think your way out of it. It's before thinking. That's why he stepped in between the reflection. The only thing that could have ever saved us, incarnation. Actual person to interrupt the story while you're looking at your story, thinking you're not even separate while thinking you are, in a complete living contradiction. Yes, this distinction exists. Of course, that's how we experience life, but it doesn't mean that contact and relation is second order or non existent. It's first, it's already touching. That's how experience unfolds. That changes the entire historical order and is the Gospels. The only reason I can say this and know this is Jesus Christ, not as some religious symbol, not as some historical religious, like argument. It's not theological. It's not faith-based. It's structural. It's the only claim in existence where a God becomes a man and says, turn towards me relationally. It's the outside contact point to recognize all that I'm saying here. Contact. Guys, you stack the Trinity on top of a bridge. It doesn't even make sense. Braden, you call this the personal God. That means he's relational. And you saw that I said all is relational, all is contact. And you thought that denied the personal creator because you're putting him second in your mind first. Your interpretive framework, you consider the contact. You're in contact with the claim right now. That means it's not my claim. That means it's not even my voice. It means it's not even my words. It means it's reality trying to recognize itself through us, incarnation. That's what it is. Just change my terms. Reality itself is addressing you. That's the Father. It hits you, this raw contact. You reacted to it. You had to interpret it. The mirror flips. You're being retrieved. You can't recognize this thing. You've never reached back into your mind and pulled out some meaning. You're not back there with levers. You're not a mental laborer. You've never managed anything in your mind. You're getting hit with reality 24/7, and it's demanding recognition of itself. And that happens within you, in your flesh, via incarnation. The word appears. The reason you're animated into experience, Braden, the reason you run off to go help your child is because of the spirit recognizing it for you. And the ways in which you guys responded, you think is you. You think it's your reaction, but it can't be because it's contact first. You were contacted by reality itself with this claim, trying to tell you this is what it is. Braden, You were retrieved by a framework that was given to you in the exact same way of reality trying to recognize itself. You wanted to protect God. You wanted to defend God. He doesn't need your protection. He doesn't need your defense. That's for you. He's trying to tell you that. Everything you said you think is you, those are his traits, not your own. Knock, knock. This is the narrow door. He said, Braden, open up. I'm trying to contact you. Misha, you collapsed into your framework, which is he's trying to bypass spiritual warfare. That's not you either. That's God Himself contacting you. Knock, knock. This is it right now. That experience Him while I'm experiencing you. You're still on the couch watching the TV. This is the word pulling you into the freaking TV, making you realize that even when you think you're on the couch watching the TV, that that's still in the TV. And there's someone else watching you from the outside. That big bright flashlight was never yours. You're being watched. Think about it, guys. It's contact first. The lightning strike happened before the word lightning, before interpretation. That's how this works. That's how this works. I say the word hot. I say the word cold, beach, waves, spiral, whirlpool, exercise. How the hell do you even know what I'm saying? It's just sounds, or it's just words if you're reading this. It hits you. The mirror flips, folds in, the word arrives up in you, and then the recognition happens all on its own. You're not playing catch with yourself. All of a sudden, this word hits you. You look in your mitt, and there it is. You recognize the fact that you already know what it means. It's in between, and then you already know how to throw it back. That's faith itself. That's how reality unfolds. And that's only Him. Who's the one that contacted us from outside that's within time, that changes life, death, resurrection, that provides the meaning of the word that's now made flesh? Him. He says, You see, but you do not perceive. Literally, it's an ontological map. You don't bake moralism on top of it and move it to the front. It's second order. Not denying morality, it's second order. He's first, always. The contact point, to give up self reference, to give up self authorship, to recognize the person who's saying, You can't perceive. I perceive for you. It's you versus that book, subject versus object. The bridge is the Bible, the book. But wait, trapdoor. The word became flesh. Those exact words that are hitting you, the mirror flips, it's within you. Christ in you, the hope of glory. Outside to in, inside to out at the same freaking time. Obviously, fully God, fully man. Paradox embodied. Obviously, life through death, persisting through change. Obviously. Do you see what I just did with the Trinity, guys? Your metaphysics doesn't even make sense unless this is it. You're welcome. The Father addresses you. The Word incarnates in you. The Spirit recognizes it for you and pulls you into divine communion. It's the ever unfolding of reality, everything, everywhere, all at once. Him, always. Doesn't matter how many times you kill him, possess his grace. He'll just make himself new and come back again. He'll never stop fighting for your soul. That's what this is about. Turning towards him, we all become clear mirrors of each other. He collapsed the oughts and the shoulds of morality into the being level, took that stone, collapsed it into his heart as he's being crucified, slain on the cross. He says, It is finished because it was. You turn towards him. You turn towards him. You turn towards him. You turn towards him. That's the faith. That's the faith. That's all it is. Contact, relation. He was in the water, guys. He was in the freaking water, in time, in change. The word made flesh. How did John know? He was warned ahead of time, right? The address. The word made actual flesh in history. And how did he actually know? The dove, the binding together, the recognition of the Spirit. There he is, the Lamb of God. Guys, they talk about this throughout it. I can't quote these passages exactly, but come on, when they're talking about the wind, come on. And there's definitely some part where Jesus is talking about the Spirit, and I'm pretty sure he says in between, or says the with, or something like that. Like one body of Christ. God love was so violent, he contained it in the word. The biting of the apple is the biting of that word. Fracture. What happens next? Propositions after the fall. How are you guys operating? Top down interpretive frameworks. There's still Christ in your faith. Don't get me wrong. That's why I'm doing this. You are a quarter turn away from it if you haven't already reached it. What I'm saying is what he was saying. This isn't my claim. This is his claim. I'm just witnessing it. Fire burns. Fire burns. That's a type of knowledge in our reality, not a proposition. There's no subject. You're not saying that fire is hot. You're saying fire burns. It's what it is and what it does. And there's no subject in the statement. Yet you can still say it. That means you're recognizing it. That means you're witnessing it. Witnessing what? Witnessing the fact that you're witnessing him witnessing you. That's the end game. What is revelation? These are the preconditions. This is how this book even comes about. Any book comes about. Any argument, any interpretive framework comes about is when these conditions are already being enacted. Nobody invented them. They are presupposed in every aspect of existence. Guys, the revelation of the word revelation and what all that contains is that every moment of your existence is revelation. Epistemology is faith. All of human cognition is based on faith. Every single thing in human cognition is based on a theory. A theory is a proposition, set of propositions. Propositions are what? Assumptions. Assumptions are what? Could be true or could be false. Okay, well, you test out that the sun rises every single day and it always does, and you think this is the only binary, true or false. So you're like, okay, I guess it's just true. Collapse it into certainty. Can never erase the ground, though, that it's faith. You trust your observations are reliable enough to perform experiments, but you don't have an experiment to show that that was even reliable to begin with. The same thing with reasoning. You believe that your reasoning is reliable enough to perform arguments, to build them out, but you don't have an argument to show that that was ever trustworthy to begin with. But these root assumptions, they never break over time. All you're doing is building trust and faith. That's what it comes down to. Every single aspect of human cognition is based on faith. It's the unerasable. No one can get under it. Faith itself equals every single aspect of human cognition. In living contradiction, because we collapse it as if we're not living in faith, because we're missing the third category. It doesn't mean it's just true or false, an assumption. It can mean it's not the full truth. Fractals, contradictions. Saw the paradox as a contradiction. That is the contradiction. That's why the paradox became flesh, to let us know that's within us. That's our pattern. We embody that. Once we stop collapsing it, which we can't, turn to Him, He holds it for us. You start embodying the true ontological order of reality from down up. We took one moment and split it up into two, how we can come to know it, and then what the source of that thing is, breaking it. Jesus Christ collapses epistemology and ontology into Himself. I and the Father are one. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me. This is a unique one-to-one claim in all of human existence. Why? Why? You don't have to believe in it. The claim exists. You take every claim within proof structures, how we decide if things are true or not, by every single metric of human imagination, by their own internal logic. That's what you do. And everything is faith. This is the only claim that says, hi, I'm God, and I'm also man. Relational. Relational, not a proposition. He does it for you. That choice actually exists in reality. That ends the free will debate. Every single aspect of the free will debate, do we have it? Do we not? Exists in theory, in propositions. Jesus is allowed, whether you believe it or not, based on the incarnation logic itself, to draw a circle around every single proposition and create a new binary and say, you can now choose that or choose me. Now, when you're stressing out over free will, does it exist? Does it not? You're entering propositions. You turn to the faith, all of a sudden, a new choice presents itself that you can actually empirically choose. The relational choice versus the propositional choice. Because as soon as you have that thought interrupt you, the contact point, whether you recognize it being outside of your story or not, and you freely choose to accept his free gift of grace, then the promise is, which you can actually enact, actually choose, is he does it for you. You don't actually have to worry about the free will debate. Therefore, you just made a free will choice to do that only because his claim exists. That means there is free will. People can choose it or not. And the only reason free will exists is based on the relational choice to him, actually exposing the fact that you don't have free will unless you make that choice. You just think you do. Life through death. Every aspect of human cognition comes down to faith. It's a complete assumption. Claim equals proof. I'm just witnessing it. Probably one of the biggest critiques I'll get is that it's not falsifiable because the denial collapse method is being seen as backwards, as if it's proving it out, even though it's revealing, even within your denial of it, that you cannot escape it. And the nature of the claim is that these are the preconditions, not a theory on top of it. It's before theory. Well, they'll think, oh, okay, you cannot deny any aspect of your claim. That makes it a circle based on the falsifiability framework, not realizing that the falsifiability framework is upside down and is enacted by these conditions. You can't take these conditions and then place it in the shape it just dissolved. Can't do it. There's always a different kind of proof, and this is it. That doesn't make it a circle. That makes it a complete tautology. The truth shall set you free. Darkness cannot be in the light. When you're remote viewing, it's like you have this interior flashlight. You're the subject looking out at the object, shining it ahead, creating that bridge. There is so much darkness around you. When you shine that thing straight on yourself, all you can feel is darkness around you. Once you realize that when you're on the TV, on the couch watching the TV, but all that's within the TV, and there's a big bright light shining, creating the whole TV set, and you're just in it. You wake up in the story. There's nothing but light, nothing but love. All propositions, all theories are faith itself. You're just choosing one of those right off the bat, taking a blind leap, building out certainty from there. Mathematically, that means it could be certain or not. Even if the sun rises every single day, 99.9%. Testing, 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 good and bad, deciding we can validate our reality. Well, then all of a sudden the claim comes along that's completely non-assumed. Mathematically, per the binary, that makes it 100% certain. And you still have to take faith to choose it because you only hear about it when you're in the other system. What a blessing it is to take faith in something that's 100% certain compared to every other thing that could possibly ever be. The good news. Welcome home, guys.